Welcome everyone to Mavericks on the Move. I am your gracious host for the day, Jamilah Corbitt. I'm the founder and CEO of I Am a Brand, and we help companies create customer-centric digital communities. So if you're interested in booming your biz, brand, and bank, go ahead, visit us at iamabrand.co. Now, we are gearing up for the new year. We're gearing up for 2019. We want to help you create that booming brand so that you land more clients easily. And today's guest is going to help you do just that. It is my privilege and pleasure to welcome a two-time award-winning brand strategist and founder of Intuitive, Maverick Carter. Woo! You guys didn't see what just happened, but that was great. I think we got that on camera. Welcome, Maverick.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
So happy that you could make it with us today on Mavericks on the Move.
Glad to be here.
Before we get into the meat and potatoes of everything, y'all love my singing. You know you love my singing. You know you love my singing. Before we get into it, I want to talk about your background a little bit. What compelled you to start your own business? Walk us through that process.
Okay, so definitely I didn't want to actually be an entrepreneur starting out, surprisingly. I stumbled upon entrepreneurship back in college at UDC, and I first started with just freelancing here and there. It started with a final project for a class in particular, and we actually went down to a bar, made a for an event that they was having, and I didn't know it was real until like afterwards.
You didn't know it was real?
I didn't know it was going to be like for real. And once I saw that opportunity came on board, I'm like, hold on, while I'm still in school, I can start making some money doing this. So I went full-fledged, used my classes to just brand myself, and used the course and the students in particular to kind of critique my work. And then once it was good, I went ahead and made it for real. And from there, I just ran with it.
So basically, you were able to discover your natural gifts and talents accidentally by doing this class project.
Pretty much.
And it's been a wrap ever since.
Pretty much. Yeah,
and when did you decide to leave your 9-to-5 and pursue this full time?
That didn't happen until actually December of last year. I started in 2015 on my job, and I left my job first there in 2015 in November, and from there I went ahead and started out and had a good 6-month runway, and then that's when I first had to get back into the workforce. Had a bump in the road with family and everything was crazy, and once I got back on my feet again, I went back out and made the leap, and now I'm doing good.
You're rolling.
Yeah, I'm rolling.
You're really rolling. So it's a really exciting time for you. Now, you are an award-winning brand strategist. You've actually been nominated for another award this year. Hopefully, I've been voting.
Yes.
I've been voting for you. I've been rooting for
Definitely.
you. Hopefully, you can get that under
Appreciate
your belt.
that.
But people use branding and marketing interchangeably, and they're two different things. So tell us a little bit about branding. What is branding, and why is branding important?
So branding is really a representation of your business, and it's important because that's really what positions you for your business in particular for success going forward. It's the smile, it's your personality, it's your voice. So that's everything. That's how people remember you. That's how people is going to perceive you. And so if you're not positioning yourself the same way within your brand's identity, your business not going to succeed to the goals that you want to reach for your company in particular. It's going to be a struggle, I'll say, in particular.
So what makes a good brand? Give us some elements.
Definitely, you want to start with your logo. For most businesses, not all, but most businesses, that's the first thing that people recognize you for in particular. And so with that, you want to have it really simple, easy to make out, understand, and read within the first 3 to 5 seconds because everybody has a short attention span. Something that can work the same way if it was scaled to fit on the side of an airplane or to the size of a quarter. So you want to start with that there, and you want to, over time, develop a voice for your brand, whether you're writing blogs or articles or content in particular that's reminiscent of you in particular. So it should really reflect your personality throughout your brand, and that's what makes you authentic, and you just run with that.
So before we even get to the logo and the websites, because when people start businesses, you ever notice they're like, oh, I'm going to start this awesome business. Let me build a website. Let me get a logo. Before we even get to that point of developing a cohesive visual identity, we have to understand our brand identity. So when you work with your clients, you actually help them define their brand identity. So what does that entail?
I'm glad you asked that. So in particular, what I do before I even start designing anything for their brand in particular, I go through what I call a discovery session, and which is really like a self-awareness assessment for the business.
I'm glad you said that. I think that's really key with establishing your brand.
Definitely. And it makes it clear for me, the owner, their team, if they have new hirees on the staff, for everybody to understand the mission and vision of the company, where we're trying to go, exactly how they're trying to position themselves again. That's a key word I keep using, because that's the issue I run into a lot with businesses, is positioning themselves. But that's definitely key, to know what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, long-term goals, short-term goals. And from there, that's why I come up with a strategy based on what you're naturally good at, to strategize how to best reach your goals with your own strengths within your company.
I love that. So you guys heard it here first. When you develop a business, your website isn't necessarily the first thing you should do. You should figure out self-awareness, figure out your company, the voice, your core values, and all of that plays a role in branding, in the actual visual cohesive identity.
Definitely.
Okay.
100%.
And so what are some of the common myths about branding?
The common myths is that people think that a brand is a business when it's not. It's just a reputation. So for instance, a lot of, I guess, my peers on social media, in particular, they have a brand where, they have a following, they have content that they usually post and they're consistent with, but they're not converting that into sales or products or services in particular to capitalize off of it financially. So it's just a brand, it's not a business. And that's like a common mistake that's being made with it.
So can a business also be a brand? And can a brand be a business? Or are they mutually exclusive?
A brand cannot be a business. It can be the beginning of a business, but it's definitely not a business. It's a huge misconception of it. Now, as far as if you have a business, then you can have a brand.
Right.
As long as if you are who you say you are, if they say you are who you say you are, if your audience, your customers, your clients say you are who you say you are, if you say you have the best French fries in town, and your clients are like, no, you don't have the best French fries in town, whatever your business is or your services, then no, you don't have. That's not your brand.
You know what? I think you bring up an interesting point, and that I want to segue that into personal branding really quickly, because a lot of people don't think that they have a personal brand. They're like, oh, I'm not something that you could just put on the shelf and buy. But if you don't create your brand, if you're not consciously creating your brand, your audience, the people who are around you, are creating it for you. What do you think about that? You've heard that saying, right?
Yes, that's definitely true. There's only so much control you have over your company. Once you put your services out there, how it makes people feel, how they connect with it, you have no control. You just have to be consistent with what you're delivering. So as long as they connecting with that and how they choose to interact with it in particular, be consistent with you or be loyal to your brand in particular, then that's what defines your brand.
And if we can sum all of that up, it means branding is an experience. It's how you make people feel.
Definitely an experience, how they make you feel, and at the end of the day, it's defined by what your audience says about your brand and not you.
So if a company doesn't have the funds to hire an awesome brand strategist like you, because I know you're top dollar. No, you're laughing, but I know that you are. What can you give us some tips, some actionable tips on how we can develop that $1 million brand, maybe some do-it-yourself type stuff for the solopreneur?
Definitely. I think that self-awareness is key. If not, just work towards your strengths. whatever your strengths are, in particular, because you will always win with your strengths. You know, don't go to what's popular. Just keep it simple. You know, just play to what works best for you. If people gravitate towards something that you're doing in particular and it's working, stick with it. And besides like your logo and anything like that, just keep it simple. If you're just starting out, just starting a business, you got a shoestring budget or anything like that in particular, just make sure it's very simple, straight to the point. Don't make it complicated at all. Just exactly what you're delivering to them and just let them know.
Also, I think you also made another great point about playing to your strengths and being self-aware. It's also understanding your differentiator and what separates you from the next person, and then doubling down on that and capitalizing off that, right?
I definitely agree with that, and that's a good point too as well. And that the differentiation part really narrows down to what your value proposition is, what makes you different, and why your services or products are valuable and meaningful for people to actually buy from you in particular.
So I also want to touch on how big is the emotional impact. We touched on it a little bit before, but creating that emotional impact for people when it comes to branding. And it's more than just throwing colors. It's more than putting colors together, throwing up a website. What else can we do to create that emotional impact for our customers going forward into 2019?
If social media is great with that. So usually with social media, how we even talk nowadays, the communication is different. You know, we don't talk at people no more, and you know, the corporate way of saying anything doesn't work. You know, you want to talk straight to people as if like you're having a one-on-one conversation, and that works in particular. Another aspect of it is emotional buys, emotional sales. You know, how you make people feel like they're along the journey with you. Connect to people, be authentic, show transparency. One thing I know that a lot of people don't do on social media is post their failures, and we all fail. I ain't had many failures.
Do you share your failures?
I have a few on there. I mean, like even when I first started out, when I quit my job, I only had like 1 month's worth of rent when I first hopped out there. So I wouldn't advise anybody to do that. That was pretty stupid. But to be completely honest with you, it's still like a journey in itself. I mean, there's times where things got low and I almost got evicted. I've been like that low to that point, and I've been homeless starting out with this.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Homeless? Wow.
Yeah, definitely. Couch surfing with friends, not knowing where the next, dollar's gonna come from. Actually going out personally to get drunk so I can have a place to stay when I hang over and wake up in the morning to hang over to work on a project and finish it and send it over. So like it's been a real struggle though, but it's like how bad you really want it,
I might have you back just to talk about that, because I think that story is interesting in itself. And one of the ways that, again, another great point about sharing the journey, sharing the failures, sharing the successes. One of the things that I've done is I've created my own vlog series. I know maybe you're aware of it. My Life Be Like. And so I enjoy documenting my experiences, and I think that's really important. So if you're an entrepreneur out there, you have a business, even if your business is a $1 million business, or you're just starting up for someone who's just now deciding to quit their 9-to-5, I think it's really important to document where you are and document your progress, because you'll thank yourself later in 3 years when you're nowhere near where you are right now, right?
I definitely agree with that. Definitely.
And that adds to the emotional impact, the emotional experience. So how can we as business owners determine our brand objectives?
That's a good question you said that. So I think that really narrows down to exactly your execution process to your long-term, your short-term goals, in particular, and like how exactly you want to acquire that. So I think that it still goes back to, the brand strategy session in particular, and knowing exactly like what your strengths are to that, and exactly what your services are offering, and how you can differentiate exactly from your target, from your competitors, and that really sets the bar for what your objectives are in particular. So what's in order and hierarchy for like what's most important in your business and what's least important, because everybody's journey is different. You know, taking off, some people's journeys may be where they may get more awareness before they make more profit or revenue in their business, and some it may come the opposite way, in particular where you may start making more revenue in your business before you actually have awareness, and you don't really have control over that to some degree. But that's each company's, you know, unique experience.
And maybe also as well as understanding your target audience. I think that plays a part in our brand objectives as well. So if we understand our target audience, we can develop our customer avatars.
Definitely.
And then create the emotional experience based on where that customer is and create the emotional journey that way, right?
I agree. And just to add one thing on there is really narrowing down what your ideal client is. I know starting out, you know, the business is really about getting revenue to build that runway. But, you know, as you narrow down, you get a good feel for what's your ideal client, where it's you have like common ground where it's like wherever the client is, it works perfectly for you to do your best work and make your process easier for you. And once you find that or have that experience, really document what that was to gain that success with that client, so that going forward you can only target that.
I like that. So replicating what's working.
Definitely.
So you can do it in the future. And I think a lot of people get that wrong, is they have a little bit of success and then they don't know how they got that success. So then it's hard to replicate in the future. But if something is working, you keep it going, develop the process. And let's say your customer is the soccer mom, and that's what's attracted to you. Well, hey, double down on that and create the process, the sales process for the soccer mom, and land more soccer moms. And then once you get the revenue, you're like, okay, maybe I want to branch out more, but you have the revenue to do that, to experiment a little bit, right?
Right. Definitely. That's a great example of it.
So you've created quite a few small business brands. You've helped brands develop their brand identity. Walk us, and you talked a little bit about your process, your discovery process, but walk us through your entire process from discovery to finish. What does that entail for you and the businesses that you work with?
Okay. So pretty much how the process usually goes is a client would come to me, and if they want a logo, or they already have a business and already have a logo and they want to rebrand it in particular, you know, I pump the brakes on it. And, you know, first it's kind of like why. You know, because sometimes it's...
Start with why.
Definitely start with why.
Always start with why.
And half the time, you know, it's not exactly what it is. So I really compare it to the same analogy of going to, like, to the doctor in particular. So, you know, you come to the doctor with a self-diagnosis, but...
WebMD.
Yeah.
I've diagnosed... How many of y'all have diagnosed yourselves with all types of stuff looking on the internet?
I know I've done it.
Me too.
Plenty of times.
But go ahead.
But yeah, so I mean, it's the same way going to the doctor, you know, self-diagnosing yourself, and then you know, they go through their process of checking, you know, your temperature, you know, your height, and you taking your blood and the whole nine, and the whole process of checking your heart, your breathing, what other problems you may be having. And from there, you know, then they kind of like discern by asking you like 1,000,001 questions about your history. So the same process with that is, you know, with the discovery process is, after we find out why, because sometimes it might not be your logo. You know, you might want to why because it's like, I'm not attracting the right audience or the right clients, or, you know, are not coming to me. Then it may not be your logo. It may be a marketing issue, you know. It could be your website. It could be lacking SEO. There's multiple different reasons. So from then, we just really find out exactly what their issues are, what they're trying to accomplish. And we go through that discovery process again, and we figure out what those are. And once we have their strengths, we have their weaknesses, we lay them all out, and we go over and look over it and say what your goal is for it. So it's like, hey, you might want to play towards, you know, if you're good at networking in person and your strength is not social media, you know, if you're like an empath or anything like that in particular, then, you know, you may want to organize your way around, like getting into more networking events, one-on-one, meeting with people and connecting, and you can build that way with your company. You may have more success doing that than like social media if that's not your strength. It really depends what the client's goal is, but then like whatever it is they're trying to accomplish for the company, from there, that's when we start the design process, whether the answer to it is a logo. if it's a website, and then we'll go through that process of sketching ideas. But it's all based on what their brand's purpose is. Make sure we define that first, what your purpose is, and what's your ideal client, your ideal target audience, to make sure that your logo and your branding is on par with what your brand's purpose is and what exactly you want to communicate to your audience. Not so much of, I like that color, I don't like that font, type of thing.
Right. Because it's all subconscious. Your visual brain is a subconscious thing, and this is what attracts people to you. Like McDonald's, they use those colors for a particular reason, because that makes you hungry in the commercials. And like the FedEx, so you guys have seen the FedEx logo, it has the Fed, and then the space, that white space with the arrow means, and I don't even know what that means. I guess it means go or forward progression, but it's all subconscious. It makes you think, it gets your brain working without you even thinking about it. So moving on, did you have anything else to add?
So I think that's pretty much the gist of it.
Okay. So moving on, what are some do-it-yourself apps that we can use? Let's say people don't have the money to hire a Navari Carter or a Jamilah Corbitt. What are some apps, some do-it-yourself apps that we can use moving forward to create beautiful graphics, to create, I guess, makeshift logos like Canva? That's one of my favorites.
I was about to say that Canva is like number one. I still use that from time to time, social media.
Yes.
Fixing the job done. Canva is definitely good. I would say that's like number one. Now I know a lot of people using like video for promotion for their business as well. You can download like Adobe Clip, which is also good for that. As far as like websites go, to get a quick website going, I would say Wix. There's a quick fix.
I hate Wix, Navari. Why you recommend it, people?
It's
Wix.
quick, it's easy, and maybe first starting out, it's a good start.
I agree. I do agree. But here's what I want you guys to do. If you do create a Wix website, please spend $12 on your domain. Please don't have NavariCarter.wix.com. Please don't do that. Just spend a little bit of money, invest in yourself, and get your domain, and then put it on Wix, right?
Yeah, or you can get one from Wix. I think we first time, but we're not going to.
Well, we're not going to delve into that.
Yeah.
But make sure you own your own domain. Please do that. And any other ones?
I think those are quick. You can. Everything else is kind of like Canon, Nikon type of thing.
Yes.
Squarespace or.
Again, do it yourself. So this is a do-it-yourself method for creating your brand identity. And even in Canva, let's talk about Canva for 2 seconds. Even in Canva, there's a space where you can have your brand colors. Not even on the free version, but it's very limited. You can have your brand colors, so you can use the same colors over and over. You can do that. It has those canned graphics. It has the icons.
It definitely has the icons, the canned graphics, and then you could also, come with your own process with that. If you create a template with it, just reuse that. Be consistent. It helps with your branding, especially on social media.
And one of my favorite video apps is InShot. InShot. I don't know if they have it on Android. Do they have that on Android?
They
do. You're stuck on Android.
I'm definitely Android.
You're Android guy.
Android
okay.
user.
So I know they have it on iOS. They do have it on Android, and InShot is great to use as well if you want to brand your videos. And Lumen 5, Lumen, M as in mom, Lumen, the number 5.com is great for also branding your videos and adding that text, like text slides, text video slides. So that's a good one too. So it's great. So let's switch gears and talk about how social media can boost your business, because you did mention social media. And what are your favorite social media platforms to use to enhance your brand and to boost your brand authority?
That's a good question. I was just talking about this the other day too. Instagram is definitely good, but I've learned over time that
Instagram is good, but
you don't have to kill it on every platform. I think you should find a platform that works for you, and if it's working, then double down on that. It really depends on what your goal is for it. 'Cause I know as a designer, Instagram is really good for photos and pictures, but my goal was to convert those likes into clients, but that wasn't working for me the best. So LinkedIn worked the best for me. So I would say LinkedIn if you're like a B2B business. B2C, business to consumer, in particular, then Instagram is really good for that. And Facebook is actually pretty good too. If you really utilize it for its networking groups, you get involved in a lot of networking groups on.
I don't like Facebook. I'm sorry. Anyone else out here
No?
do not like Facebook? Okay, we got another hand. I don't like Facebook. But okay.
Facebook works. If you use a lot of networking groups, and you build those relationships and you follow up with people and you keep in touch, they can really, and for promotion, networking groups are good for your own personal promotion. If you get into a community on there, you can definitely flip that.
I agree. I just don't like it. I agree. No, I think you kill it on Instagram, because I think your Instagram feed is very clean, very visual, and it's in alignment with your brand. And I've seen your LinkedIn profile as well, and I can attest that it's the same thing all across your social media platforms. I think you do a very good job of branding yourself all across your platforms and driving people to want to at least get to know you and work with you, because you're a very personable young man.
I appreciate that. I definitely appreciate that. Social media is not one of my strengths, actually. It's just weird. So I really do appreciate that.
Well, you're welcome. So okay, I'm going to ask you a question. This, and we're going to wrap it up. I want to ask you a question. This might take some brain power, but it's going to be really creative, and it has nothing to do with what we're talking about today, but I just want to see how you think. This is going to be my new question that I ask everyone.
Okay. Whatever.
Let's say you hit rock bottom. If you're in business, I'm pretty sure you've experienced this anyway. You've hit rock bottom. You only have $50 in your pocket and a Wi-Fi connection. What do you do?
I've actually been in a situation similar to that. So
okay.
That's kind of funny you said that. So in this, you want to be as creative as possible, right? Okay.
And I know you're a creative guy. So this will be an easy answer for you. And since you've experienced it, you can play off that experience.
I don't know if I can put myself out there like that, but with that, I would go to Instagram and get on video. I've learned that it's very personable when you show true authenticity. Like, again, like I say, like from time to time, I do share my failures on there, share some of my struggles, and those get like the most meaningful like impact as far as like comments, whether you could be encouraging somebody else. It builds like genuine like impact.
People love struggle because we relate to each other's struggles.
Yes.
So I totally get it. If we can just do more of that without the pain part, we got it. Okay, you guys, this is a disclaimer. When you share your pain, you kind of have to be over the pain that you're sharing. You can't just bleed all over social media or cry all over social media, even though I've done that before as well. But you have to be past that. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just had to add that in.
No, that's fine. I mean, that's definitely true. Yeah, you definitely make an impact, and it's crazy because sometimes like your followers could be shy. A lot of people may not comment on certain things that I may post that may be a little touching, but they might hop in my DM and and want to talk. So you never know. But I feel like that personally, and yeah, I mean just really just be authentic with it. More people are relatable to struggling. I mean, there's more people that's in a struggle that's actually like doing well. So I mean, it makes you human at the end of the day, So
you're going to hop on, you still have $50 in your pocket. You're hopping on Instagram, sharing your struggle via video. And that's
then,
it.
No, and then you're going to make a call to action. You're going to sell something in particular. I know that when I had a similar situation to that, I reached out to my network. And that's another thing that I learned the hard way is that when you build these connections with people, it's good for like a following base or whatever like that. It looks good, but at the end of the day, if you're not really utilizing your network and you have certain connections, like that's the time you need to reach out to those people.
I'm guilty of this, actually. And I'm going to be transparent and say that. I'm guilty of that because I have a pretty good network of people, and I don't like to talk to people for some reason. I don't pick up the phone and say, hey, such and such, what's up? I have to get better at that.
No, I agree. It's the same way for me. I mean, I'm like you said, I'm introverted, so that's a struggle for me as well. But I just try to at least reach out every now and then or celebrate people's success all around the way. So and every now and then I try to build real friendships with people I network with. I don't really start out with like the business of how we can work together and all this. It's really just trying to get to know the person, trying to find some common ground, whatever, and just really keep in touch to kind of see if we got a good vibe, and from there just build off that. Because from there, like, people really want to work with you because they like you, and you can build trust quickly that way, and people like to work with who they like, know, and trust.
And I love connecting people as well. That's one of the things that I love doing is if I like to file people in my brain, like, okay, Navarre is a brand strategist, Samaya is a photographer, videographer. I like to file people, and then I like to, when I meet someone that can use your services, I like to refer people to each other. I love that. But again, I have to talk to, I need to plug into my network, because sometimes you give so much that you can also receive. You've put enough in the bank that you can cash out because you've helped enough people. And so I think I think this is something we both probably have to work on as well.
Definitely. That's a great point. That's a great point you said that.
So your CTA, which is a call to action,
Yes.
and that's how you're going to land more money, right? So you have to start with the skill. You have $50 in your pocket. You have the Wi-Fi connection. You're gonna hop online, develop some type of quick product that you can use to sell, create a web page, and then sell it, and then push it, and that's it.
Definitely, I think that's the quickest way.
I've actually done that too. I've done. It was if I can share a story really quickly.
Go ahead.
I actually did. I wanted some money for the holidays, some extra money. It was around this time last year. So what I did was I created. It was called the 2018 Profit Kit, and I took some of the resources that I had that created during the year, because I created a whole bunch of content. I bundled it, and then I sold it. I hopped online, and then I sold it, and then I had some extra cash for the holidays. So I did the exact same thing. So I totally did your answer. So tell people how they can reach you.
You can reach me on social media, Instagram at intuitive_create, LinkedIn under Navarre Carter.
Spell your name for him.
Navare, and also I'm going to be starting YouTube soon.
Really?
Yeah,
Hey.
that's a new goal for mine. But got a little work to do on that though. But yeah, you can follow me on my website also, www.intuitivecreate.com.
People still say www. I'm always so amazed that people still say. I didn't mean to call you out. Who still says www? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to catch you out, but I just thought that was funny. Okay.
Definitely catch me on my website. Definitely check out some of my work, my portfolio in particular, and yeah. And Facebook, of course, follow me. Most of my social media I try to use personal. I'm trying to blend in business and work in particular. So yeah.
All right. Well, Navarre Carter, it was my pleasure, and thank you so much for being my guest.
I appreciate it. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
See ya, IG.
All right.
Oh, we got some questions. Of course.
Okay.
Can I wrap up, please? Can your girl wrap it up? So we have some questions from the audience. Question. Hold on. Let me get the mic over to you.
So the first question would be, can your ideal customer change, your ideal client change as your business grows?
It definitely can. If you're expanding, I mean, it really depends on what your company is in particular. Is this like a personal question?
It is.
Oh, we could, yeah.
So my business is natural hair and skincare.
Okay.
So my ideal client now is more so, of course, natural hair, locks, how can I say this? More of an urban base. But as I grow, can my clientele change?
Definitely. It really depends on what your goal is with it. I mean, if you want to expand using products, not only just like hair, I mean, hair accessories as well. I mean, those different ways to kind of like expand with it, and it could broaden it out. Also, your price points is really going to define that as well as you expand. So whatever your revenue goals are, definitely plays a role in that as well.
Okay. Let's see.
Got a whole list.
Sorry, I was writing, taking notes. So if a business is set on rebranding, let's say the purpose is because they're outdated, how would you go about that, but keeping still the essence of the company?
What do you mean as far as like outdated, as far as like
So like the company's been around for 10 years, the logo is kind of stale, they want to freshen it up, but how do you keep the essence of the business so people still recognize that this is who it is?
Okay. You don't stray too far away from what identifies them in particular. So depending on how big the company is, you know, they can reach out to their stakeholders or their clients in particular and kind of like do a survey to kind of like figure out what that is if they don't already know, and really play towards what is working for the business in particular. And you build around that. So if people know you for a certain event that you hold consistently every year or anything like that, whatever is most memorable about it, you want to keep that essence of it. So however you communicate to your target audience, you don't want to change that communication.
Okay, so
Yeah.
So I wanted to add to that really quickly because that was a really great question, and that's why it's important to understand your core values and the internal side of the business, because your logo is going to become stale eventually. It's going to change. So having the essence of it stay the same is really important in developing to rebrand yourself. Think of McDonald's. McDonald's has always had them golden arches. And they've rebranded so many times over the years, but we still know McDonald's because of the golden arches, even though their whole model is continuously changing. So that's a great question.
okay, and then the last question would be, what would be the first steps you would take if you have a quote-unquote bad brand?
What is a bad brand? Can you define what that is?
Yeah, let's define a bad brand first.
That's that's still a broad answer, but I mean, like, one, if
So
a lot of mistake a lot of people make, even when starting with their brand, is their logo is an illustration, and it's very complicated. I mean, you have to like really stare at it to kind of like figure out what it is, or if the font is too playful, and you have to really look at it to understand what it's saying. Then, like, number one, that's bad.
mm-hmm.
If it's outdated, you know, if they're using like their website and it's not mobile friendly, if it's not simple, if they're using gradients and, you know, all type of crazy colors, it's just not like narrowed down to like 2 or 3, and it's not keeping it simple, it's very complicated and all over the place, then yeah, that's definitely bad.
And what about if the brand, so how can I say it? When I say bad, it's like people look at you and they say, you know what, I don't think I can get with that brand. Not just because of the business part of it. I would say not the products associated with the brand, but the person itself. So like if it's your personal brand and people, for some reason, there's something out there about you, you know, word of mouth is everything. So if something gets out about you and it's horrible and people are like, I just can't work with this person anymore, how can you change that?
Wow, I mean, that's that's tough luck for some people. I'm not gonna lie. It is. I mean, if it really gets that bad for somebody, then like
well,
you might have to
always
just
have one person. You can't please everyone. So if it's one person and maybe you couldn't get a small thing right, but they blasted you over social media that you were the worst person that they have ever worked with.
it would definitely die down, but one thing I would say with it is to pick that up is embrace it and pivot. So it's like, if that's the truth and that's what happened, take ownership of it, take responsibility of it, and then offer something valuable in particular that they can benefit from as like an apology, and then kind of like move forward with something better, you know, and then be consistent with that, following up.
Yeah, I have something to add to that because this happens a lot. So yes, embrace the failure, because it's a failure. Something happened, miscommunication, someone is mad that you did something to them. Embrace that. And also, you have to understand that you can't please everybody. And I had a better answer, but I totally forgot. It totally slipped my mind. Don't you hate when that happens? Don't you hate? As soon as I grabbed the mic, I was like, man, it slipped out my mind. But yeah, just make sure that you gotta embrace that, because not everyone is gonna like you, but those who do will fill your pockets. You've heard that before.
That was all I had. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have any other questions? Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you so much for coming today. We are taking the month of January off, and we will see you February the 13th, second Wednesday of February. I think I need a date. Someone help me out here. I should know these. I should know this. February 13th, right? Right before Valentine's Day. Yes, we'll see you February 13th. Thank you so much for coming out.